They grab her without warning. She broke their hands and their silence. Subscribe to witness the rise of a girl no one saw coming. It started like every other gray Monday morning at Brookfield High, a school where walls echoed with laughter in hallways, but hid darker truths behind locker doors and bathroom stalls. 16-year-old Amara Hill stood by the edge of the front gate, her hoodie drawn just tight enough to cast a soft shadow over her wide eyes, the deep brown of her irises often mistaken for black from a distance, intense, observant, and quietly alert. She wasn't the type who moved in cliques or made noise in class. She liked silence, liked observing, liked the spaces in between where no one paid attention. But that didn't mean she was invisible. To some, that silence was weakness, and predators, especially in high school, could smell silence like blood in the water. Amara was used to whispers. Teacher's pet, they sometimes muttered. Charity case. Why is she so quiet, though? But she let it all slide, brushing their noise off her shoulders like lint. What she wasn't used to was what started happening in the third week of September, just as the leaves outside began their slow curl in a golden fire. It started with Dante Reeves, the basketball captain, tall, reckless, the kind of boy teachers thought had promise, but girls knew was all talk and hands. He had a laugh that carried through lockers and a way of mocking that made it look like a joke, until it wasn't. He started noticing her in gym, in the cafeteria, in the back of the library when she'd sit alone doing assignments days ahead of schedule. He'd lean on the doorway, watching her longer than necessary, always smirking. Then he started the comments. Hey, you ever talk church mouse? You wearing armor under that hoodie, girl? She ignored him, at first, until ignoring wasn't enough. That day in the hallway, it was a Thursday, she remembered it too well. She had stayed late after class to redo a chemistry quiz she had aced, but felt she could do better on. Her teacher, Mr. Ellison, had stepped out for a phone call. The hall was almost empty. That's when Dante came up behind her. His footsteps weren't even quiet. He didn't need to be. You always so serious? But you'd look cute if you smiled. He was too close. She could feel his breath. She stepped away, clutching her backpack to her chest. He laughed, chill. Just messing with you. But the laughter wasn't funny. It was loaded. That weekend, she told her mother in passing, vague tones. Her mother sighed. Boys tease. You're pretty, that's all. Her mom meant well. She always meant well. But sometimes Amara wished she saw the way boys like Dante didn't just tease. They hunted. Over the next few days, the teasing turned into touches. A brush of the arm, a fake shove, a hand on her lower back while passing by. One time, she caught him snapping a photo from the stairwell below while she climbed the stairs. She spun around. He smiled like it was nothing. And everyone else, the students, even a few teachers, pretended not to see. That's the thing about high school. Most people just want to survive. No one risks becoming a target by speaking up for someone else. But then came a moment that turned the quiet into a scream. It was a Friday, mid-October, during lunch period. She had gone to the art room, her safe place. Ms. Baker, the art teacher, was supposed to be there, but had left to deal with an emergency. The room was empty, or so she thought. She had just started sketching when the door creaked open behind her. She didn't even need to turn around. She knew the sound of Dante's fake swagger. But this time, he wasn't alone. Two of his friends were with him, Jace and Malik. Both laughed like they were in on a joke no one else heard. Thought you'd be here, Dante said. She stood up slowly, heart thudding. I'm leaving. Why so scared? Church mouse. Jace teased. Don't you trust us? You always dress like you hiding something, Malik added, eyes scanning her up and down. We just curious, that's all. When she tried to push past them, Dante blocked her. His smile disappeared. Nah, not today. We tired of games. It happened fast. A hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. Another reached for her hoodie. She yanked back, but Dante grabbed her by the front of her chest, gripping like he had the right. That was the moment everything changed. The room exploded into a whirlwind of instinct and adrenaline. Her elbow flew into his jaw, cracking against bone with a sharp pop. His eyes widened. He stumbled back. Jace tried to grab her next. She twisted and drove her knee up into his ribs so hard he crumpled like a paper bag. Malik cursed, lunged forward, but she was done being cornered. Her hand shot out and caught his wrist mid-air, twisting hard the way she had learned from a self-defense video months ago. Something snapped. He screamed. Loud. Too loud. Ms. Baker came rushing back in just as Malik dropped to the floor, holding his hand, sobbing. Dante stood clutching his face, bleeding from the mouth. Jace groaned on the floor, unable to breathe. Amara stood in the center, breathing hard, shaking, not from fear but from fury. Ms. Baker stared, frozen, trying to make sense of the scene. "What happened here?" she asked, voice trembling. "They tried to touch me," Amara said, voice quiet, but each word slicing through the air like a blade. The fallout was immediate. The school tried to spin it as a misunderstanding. The boys claimed she attacked them unprovoked. But Ms. Baker had seen the fear in Amara's eyes and the rage in the boys' panic. She testified. So did a janitor who had heard screaming and saw the end of it. It took days, meetings, and threats from lawyers, but eventually Dante, Jace, and Malik were suspended. Indefinitely. Word spread fast. Some students called her a hero. Others whispered behind their hands, as if she was dangerous. But Amara didn't care anymore. Something had cracked inside her. Not broken, cracked open. She started walking differently. Shoulders back, chin up. She still didn't talk much. But when she did, people listened. And for the first time, people left her alone. Not because she was invisible, but because they saw her. The girl who had once been silent now carried a storm inside her, and the whole school knew it. But deep down, Amara also carried something else. The memory of that cold hand on her chest, the burn of humiliation, the betrayal of a world that should have protected her and didn't. And she promised herself, no matter what came next, no one would ever touch her without her consent again. She didn't need to shout. Her silence now echoed like thunder. After the incident, Amara Hill didn't sleep for 4 nights. Every time her eyes drifted shut, she was back in the art room, not with victory or clarity, but with the sound of skin on skin, the snap of cartilage, the sick twist of Malik's wrist in her hand, and the impossible pressure of Dante's palm against her chest just before she reacted. She remembered her own breathing, fast, tight, almost unreal, like her body had stopped belonging to her for a moment and became something else, something ancient, something powerful, something violent. She remembered not screaming, just moving, as if her limbs already knew what to do, because some other version of her had always been waiting. It haunted her, not because she regretted defending herself. She didn't, but because now the world was different, and she didn't know what kind of girl she was inside this new version of it. In the days that followed, the school changed in ways she couldn't predict. People looked at her differently, as if they were trying to find the monster or the warrior or the victim hiding behind her quiet eyes. Some avoided her, even teachers. Her Spanish instructor flinched the first time Amara raised her hand again, calling on someone else instead, and when Amara didn't say anything, she noticed other students watching carefully, not because she was invisible, but because now she glowed like a lit fuse. It wasn't respect. Not yet. It was fear masquerading as admiration. Some students tried to joke about it, like nothing serious had happened. "Yo, remind me never to mess with you." Someone laughed by her locker. She didn't even look up. The quiet she once used as a shield now acted like a blade. But behind that strength was a growing weight. The school administration made it worse. They called her in for a series of follow-up conversations, none of which felt safe. The vice principal kept using words like incident and outburst, as if she had attacked someone without cause. "We're reviewing the video," he said one afternoon, pushing his glasses up his nose like he was solving a puzzle. "And while your reaction is understandable, there are concerns about the force used. This is a school, not a battlefield." She stared at him, trying to process how someone who hadn't seen her cornered could speak with such authority about what her hands should or shouldn't have done. He didn't ask about the fear, or the boys, or what she'd endured in silence for weeks. He talked about image, school liability, and her record, as if the real danger was her anger, not what provoked it. The word expulsion was never said directly, but it loomed between sentences like a blade. She didn't cry, not in his office, Not at home. Not even when the local newspaper twisted the story into something palatable for suburban parents. Altercation between students sparks controversy. Altercation, as if she and three boys had mutually agreed to a duel. She read the article 3 times. No mention of the groping. No quotes from her. Just a statement from the district about disciplinary actions being handled internally. The school was trying to bury it, but the internet wouldn't let them. The leaked video had already gone viral. Not the full story, just the part where she defended herself. People online were calling her the shy Avenger and quiet girl rage. Some praised her, others debated if her reaction was excessive. None of them knew her name. And while the comments rolled in by the thousands, Amara sat on her bed, reading each one with the hollow eyes of someone watching their life be turned into content. One night, she went outside and sat on the front porch, knees pulled to her chest, hoodie tight around her face. Her mother joined her quietly, a cup of tea in her hand. "It's okay to be angry," her mother said. Amara didn't answer. Her mother sighed. "But you also need to find out who you are outside of that moment. Otherwise, it'll define you forever." That stayed with her. She took it seriously. She began journaling, sketching, meditating. Not as therapy, but as survival. In the background, her reputation solidified. She noticed freshman girls nodding at her in the hall, seniors making space for her without being told. But the attention wasn't all positive. One day, someone spray-painted the word aggressive in red letters on her locker. It stung worse than the incident itself. Not because it was unexpected, but because it confirmed something she already knew. The world punished black girls for fighting back. The school washed it off. No investigation. No épalé. Just an email about respectful dialogue. So she started showing up to the Women's Empowerment Club. At first, she didn't speak. Then she shared. Then she organized. She invited a local activist to come speak. She started a petition to require consent training in gym classes. She wrote an anonymous op-ed for the school paper titled, "Silence Isn't Strength, It's What They Count On." It went viral in its own way. The school counselor started seeing more girls. The administration had to hold forums. And slowly, something began shifting. A girl who had never spoken in public before suddenly became the name whispered in classrooms and community meetings. She didn't want to be famous. She wanted accountability. That made her dangerous. At the winter assembly, the principal stood up to speak about safety and inclusivity. As she spoke, Amara looked around the room and saw girls watching her, not the stage. That's when she realized the power wasn't in the speech. It was in the silence that followed. After the assembly, a girl named Naomi came up to her, shaking. "Thank you," she said, "for what you did. I had something happen. I didn't know I could talk about it." Amara didn't hug her. She didn't cry. She just nodded, and that was enough. Later that month, she was invited to a panel on youth safety in schools. Her mom drove her to the event in a nearby city. She sat between a trauma counselor and a professor, quietly gripping the edges of her chair until it was her turn to speak. Her voice didn't shake. "I didn't ask to be an example," she said. "But when no one else stands up, sometimes silence is what keeps everything broken." The room fell silent. And afterward, 3 girls waited in line just to thank her. She didn't have a platform. She had truth. That was louder. Back at school, spring came, and the boys never returned. Malik transferred. Jace dropped out. Dante was being homeschooled. None ever apologized. But she didn't need them to. What she needed was to reclaim herself, piece by piece. She returned to art class. She walked past the room. She went inside. And this time she stayed. She painted a series of canvases for her final project. All hands. Hands reaching, hands grasping, hands fighting, hands healing. The last one was a pair of fists slowly unclenching into open palms. Ms. Baker cried when she saw it. No one had to ask what it meant. When graduation came the next year, Amara walked across the stage with her chin up, her steps slow and unflinching. There was no grand standing ovation, but there was something better, quiet respect. People had learned that silence doesn't mean small. It means patient. It means watchful. It means powerful when awakened. And as she walked out of Brookfield High for the last time, The weight of that moment settled in her bones, not as pain, but as purpose. The world hadn't changed overnight. Boys like Dante still existed. Systems still failed. Victims still got blamed. But in one small corner of one small high school, a shy black girl had stood her ground, broken hands, shattered stigma, and carved a path others could follow. And that path didn't need to be loud. It just needed to be walked, step by step, by girls who would never again mistake silence for safety.